Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. You're at some time of the day, and it is always rando time during our community tournament for Link to the Past Randomizer. Today we have a double header lined up for you guys. It is game one right now of NYRambler versus Gem. This is the winning side of the bracket for their group. Rambler went 2-1 against Hacksaw in round one, while Gem went 2-0 against Runespism. So they will be facing off today. Game one will be a 7-7 defeat Ganon. Game two will allow whoever loses game one to make one small rule change. I am Mentos Mane, joined today by Mercer. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Looking forward to this one. Judging by his file name, maybe Jim is a little worried about it.
I don't know, that file name seems to fit Gem pretty well. He likes to mess around. We saw him practicing the Moldorm bounce before the race, which, if I recall correctly, Gem can hover, so it made it kind of amusing to me that he was wearing boots and practicing Moldorm bounce.
Maybe he feels like that setup would be faster. I'm not sure. I suspect Rambler is probably rooting for that not to come up today, but we'll see if it does. We can eliminate it pretty quickly if it turns out that Swamp is a crystal.
Yep, and overall, this should be a pretty good matchup. As mentioned, this is the winner's side, so whoever wins this 2 out of 3 is going to be going into the top 32 seeds of the main bracket, with the loser going on to face the winner of the matchup between Runespism and Hacksaw. And yeah, they'll have a chance to get into the lower 32 of the bracket if they match up, or when they match up against one of them. So, not an elimination on the line, but you want to get out into the top half of that bracket if you can.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point of the tournament where we are seeing a lot of people make it into brackets or knocked out. I believe you've actually made it in, but they should be getting started any second here.
That was fantastic timing, I just have to say.
They split their starts, but they both get 10 arrows for their trouble.
It doesn't matter where you go, apparently. The game just wants you to have a few sticks to carry with you. And we get a quick map check. We have a 5-6 crystal at Eastern, a regular pendant at Desert, and a regular crystal at Hera. Two out of 3 light world crystals ain't bad, and Rambler gets some very good luck on those 50-50 bushes down here south of the Grove, getting 2 bombs right away.
The game is apparently very concerned about our arrow count, as the tree pool is also 10 arrows.
Race game, unfortunately, not 10 arrows, that's 5 rupees, which they are equally unlikely to go pick up, ever.
Just a blue bottle on the Lumberjack cave. That's very, very unlikely to be needed. It is, I guess, theoretically possible.
Yeah, theoretically possible. Far more likely to be needed is that mirror that Rambler just saw in the library, which, means that we're probably going to get boots at some point. That's nice.
Yeah, mirror only strictly required if Swamp is a crystal, but is likely our access to a lot of other places, including Desert, which is just a pendant.
And Gem, not getting anything out of the Lost Woods, gives a save and quit. Gonna jump over to Link's house, get his other 10 arrows, and head off from here. Looks like he's also going to take the south route to Kakariko to get some bombs from the 50-50 bushes. Rambler is going into the restock hut down here in the bottom left of Kakariko to get a little bit more than 1 bomb. He takes up his 4 and moves on.
Yeah, just bothers with enough to finish out Kakariko for the moment. Not going to farm up to a full carrying capacity. It's pretty likely that he's about to get some more bombs from the well and Blind's Hut.
Yeah, if not bombs, odds are you're going to get enough money to buy bombs, and then you can just grab some by Lake Hylia when you save and quit. So far, very empty Kakariko. There is the bomb money and a bug net.
If Bugnet is as exciting as it gets out of Kakariko, then that's a very sad Kakariko.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Bugnet's fun. You get to fight Aghanim with it. You might catch a fairy here and there, depending on how the seed goes. It's not the worst thing you could find. $350, 10 more arrows. Finally, a few bombs get dropped here in Blind's Hut.
Well, at least there's something. Power Glove in the back of my Blind's hideout.
That's impressive. 13 items in Kakariko. We get a glove of value. Not gonna lie, I didn't realize that he hadn't done Bottle Vendor yet, so my comment was about to be a little bit of, pie on my face if that Bottle Vendor had anything of value.
Well, I mean, apparently he values those bombs at about 33 rupees each, so...
Yeah, it's a bold business practice selling those for effectively double price of the shop like 10 feet away.
So when you see this little in Kakariko, a lot of times it means that either South Shore or the eastern area is loaded. We'll find out which it is, if not both, here in a minute, I think.
Yeah, first Rambler is probably going to use that glove to go grab the back of escape items. That's 1 to 3 very quick item checks. You're obviously hoping for 3. 1 is kind of the worst case scenario. Gem, meanwhile, is nearly done with his Kakariko checks. He gets his glove, has very, very little left to worry about at this point. Okay, sword's not bad. 10 bombs to fill up is also decent. But the sword is definitely the highlight so far.
Yeah, might see Uncle in front of Escape now, or South Shore. Looks like South Shore.
Yeah, very much split value checks. Escape, you have the downside of with Sanctuary and the back not having a key or a map. You've only got 2 more items in there, and it's a relatively long sequence. Obviously, you got the 2 at Uncle and the secret passage as well, but it's a little bit of a heavy time commitment versus the reward of South Shore.
It's still a pretty stingy seed so far.
Very much so. We've seen Rambler's routing leave him a little bit better off than Gem's, but they're now diverging with Gem going up to Escape and Rambler finishing up South Shore. So we're going to be seeing these locations pretty much one after the other, which is always kind of convenient. Uncle giving us another 10 arrows. Hooray.
I forget how many of those are in the item pool, but we've already seen like 6 or 7. Ooh, there's our Moon Pearl and our single arrow.
And a mushroom. That's not really what you're hoping to see when you have no other items. You can check it pretty quick with a fake flipper, but not ideal by any means. Gem now going to continue on into the front of Escape while Rambler heads over to the east to go up to Ice Rod Cave. And he could have the option of fake flipping up to Waterfall with that Moon Pearl to get some out of logic stuff done, but with so few items made, I don't know, Sequence Break is kind of a major thing to do when you know you gotta have value in one of like 2 locations.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a 300 here, and he could also do Zora, because Zora is in logic with that glove. But only 20, not going to get him close to that money. Does look like he's continuing on, though, so this is probably a fake flipper.
He thinks better of it, and he drops the save and quit, and is going to be moving on elsewhere. We'll see if he goes to Eastern or Escape. It's a piece of heart in the boomerang chest. I did miss the first chest of the front of Escape, but the fact that Gem is going on after that piece of heart tells me it must have been a map or a key. And judging by the key count, it must have been a map. So this will be item number 6 out of Escape.
Well, or it could be the key, and Dark Cross has the...
This chest and the boomerang chest are both logically locked behind the key. So
Okay.
yeah, it had to be key and Dark Cross at that point.
Well, got half magic out of it. Doesn't have any way to consume magic at the moment. But that's still nice to have.
Yeah, you're never going to complain about getting that, especially 10 minutes into the seed before you ever do anything where it would be worse not having it. I like how Rambler just kept poking that guard into the bomb. Like, no, you're not getting away.
So our locations for progression are pretty rapidly narrowing. I believe at the moment it's either Agina, Zora, or somewhere in the eastern area by logic, correct?
Yeah, that or the mushroom. We do still have that sitting on the table.
Ah, that is true.
But yeah, we're at that good early part of the seed where you're doing all the same things, even if they're in a little bit different order. You see a lot of times runners who diverge will just kind of go right where the other one was immediately after. So Rambler's now going to get his half magic through here. Gem is going to get his Moon Pearl and his Mushroom. And we'll see where they go from here out of the few options that remain. I'm personally a fan of doing a quick save and quit, checking the mushroom. With Fake Flipper, it's nice and easy. You can hard reset if it's not something you want to save it for Fake Powder. So it's a very quick and easy check to do.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Eastern's reasonable just because of the density of items there. It's either 5 or 6 basically available. The Agina check is pretty much straight up a gamble at this point.
So yeah, both runners now with half magic. Gem saves and quits to the house, and oh, Gem takes a crab to the face.
Yeah, now we know that that's just a big 20. Jim does not know that. That's probably going to be an annoyance to him later.
Yeah, even if everything seems to be going well, while you have that one location just stuck in the back of your mind, like I was right there. How did I not get that item? Gem over here gonna do exactly what my preference is. Go get this mushroom check done quick. Rambler moving straight on to Eastern for the 5 to 6 items in this area.
Well, there's his Dark World access, so I don't know if we'll see him. Nope, gonna bail out. That makes total sense.
Yep, winning bet is Eastern, and yeah, the bailout is definitely the right call there. That's $5 from the mushroom turn in. I lose out on that one. Gem did not do a hard reset, so if we do find Kane and Samaria and fake powder turns into an important thing, then he will not be able to take advantage of that, which could, play a factor. Not likely, but, maybe.
Yeah, I know it's made a major difference in at least one game in this tournament, so it can come up. Ooh, that looked like a rod of some kind. I didn't get a very good look on Floating Island.
I didn't get a great look either, but I looked back on the restream itself, and that was the fire rod there. Find out that pod is our red pendant, swamp is our green pendant, and our other 5/6 crystal is at ice. So, swamp pendant, that's a thing that, as we were talking before, Gem, kind of likes to see.
Yeah, and now Rambler is going to be rooting very hard for Hookshot to just be in his path somewhere. Which it probably is, in fairness.
Very true. Also, shoutouts to being in the Dark World at 13 and a half minutes with 4 hearts. If I didn't know any better, I would think this was an inverted race.
That fighter sword, too. The enemies in the Dark World are not tuned around you having a fighter sword.
They really aren't. So Rambler going to go ahead and drop down from here. Going to check these last 2 chests in the front of Skullwoods, and then we'll see if he decides to go to that middle chest or if he decides to move on, head down to Village of Outcasts. Takes an unfortunate fall to the pits in this room. Gem is skipping Skullwoods altogether, going to head straight down to the Village of Outcasts. And based on that chest being a key, he definitely made the right decision there.
Yeah, Jim knows where the fire rod is. Rambler doesn't. That probably plays a factor in this.
Could definitely see it having an impact. And Rambler does piece out without going to the middle location, the vanilla big key spot. It's a very slow check, especially without Kana Samaria on low health with Fighter Sword. It's a frustrating one. So he's just going to move right on down here with Gem.
I believe those mummies take something like 8 slashes with the fighter sword.
I don't even know for sure. I do know they die right away with Bombos, so that is a pleasant pickup when you're in this kind of low percent setup. You don't really want to use Bombos. It's very slow, the animation is very long, then you gotta wait for things to burn. It's not even just, they're dead right away. But having Bombos is good if you're low on health and there's enemies around you and you need to panic.
Yeah, it also could be our... oh, hey, there's our lamp. I was going to say it could be our logical access into Ice Palace if Ice Palace has the mirror.
That would be rude, but expected. So Rambler not dipping into Thieves Town, at least not immediately. He's going to go down here to the dig game. We get our second item out of the front of Thieves Town. It's a big 20 gem setting up for a death warp. And we'll pick up the last chest, which is a compass. Yay. I do see a mention in the chat that AGA 1 could still be required if they can't find the hammer. And that is possible, logically speaking, but at this point, there are so many ways to sequence break that particular requirement that my bet would be on them both being capable of getting around it.
Yeah, I can think of like 4 offhand, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are ones I don't know.
I do like this Rambler. Going to go ahead and grab the Smith. That way there, especially if he comes through Hype Cave and still has nothing, he can just head right back to Kakariko, get the Blacksmith turned in, and then go back to the Dark World and move on from there.
Now, technically, Aga could still be required because we've only seen 1 bottle.
This is true. That could definitely still be a thing. I hope it's not, because that is incredibly awful, but it could be. Okay, we're going to be seeing a Hype Cave here. 5 items, you know, sometimes it's a lot of very good stuff. On a empty seed like this, you can kind of hope for that. Not starting off great, though. No,
I mean,
no Hype Cave.
You can put the hope back in the bottom of Pandora's box. It is not there.
It is definitely not there. Unless your hope is to be able to pay Zora his money, because, you know, he's got a lot of that.
Yeah, that was 420 rupees total, so...
So Rambler walking over here with the blacksmith, going to go turn that in. Gem also heading right back to the Kakariko area at the moment. Let's see if our dear friend, the little toad who could, will give us something good for 10 rupees. You know, put some of that Hype Cave money to use. Nope.
Gem heading back into Thieves Town. There is a pretty good chance of the big chest not having anything at this point, with 2 items in the front and no small key yet.
Yeah, there definitely is. There's a higher odds of some hammer lock shenanigans in terms of logic, but lower chance of actually missing anything. But also, they're just running very dry in terms of locations they can check right now. Outside the back of Thieves Town, I think we've got Agina's Cave unchecked, and Zora, and not Purple Chest. That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's what... Rambler appears to be very dedicated to not going into Thieves Town without the hammer, which many runners are. I'm guessing we see it if the purple chest ends up dry, but I could be wrong there. I mean, he'll do a Gainus check while he's over that way, too.
And I don't blame him. I'm also a fan of trying to avoid Thieves Town. Oh, the boots!
Yeah, that's nice. Boots also do... what was it on Library? Was it Mirror?
Yep, that'll get him the mirror from Library, open up King's Tomb and the Bonk Rocks. So that's going to be a pretty sizable increase in mobility for him. And with their current setup, they can go up to Hera once they got that mirror and get that entirely cleared out. So overall, pretty positive. If this key isn't in the blind cell, though, we know the hammer isn't locked behind the boots. But it's there, so never mind that.
Yeah, Jim going to be rooting pretty hard for Blind to drop the last item.
We're We're gonna get this last Sphere 1 location checked out here, and it's a piece of heart. Not what Rambler was hoping for. At this point, he is likely to go do the same Thieves Town dive. For his sake, I hope he doesn't get the lamp and say, oh, Death Mountain's in logic, I'm just gonna leave and go up there.
Last item is on blind. It is actually Sank Heart, so those of you keeping an eye out for that, there you go.
The Sank hearts from the bosses are fantastic because they save you, a small amount of time that your health would otherwise be refilling. And Gem at this point is going to go check King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks, run down to the library, grab his mirror, and then probably save and quit right back to the sanctuary and go up Death Mountain.
There's flippers that brings the possibility of Ice Palace Hammer into play, if you're feeling mean.
Yep, and it also unlocks that fire rod, so on the bright side, there's not going to be any shenanigans with that Bombos medallion. Although we knew that as soon as we saw the boots, to be honest, but I was a little bit behind on that one.
Yeah, the boots would have had to have been nice for my earlier thing. I just forgot about the mirror on library. But yeah, Rambler hopefully will just continue and clear this out. Looks like that's probably going to be the path. I mean, it's as many items still in Thieves as there are available in the mountain for his sake.
Yeah, and he could try, kind of a bold play and save and quit out after the attic chest, and then just leave the rest to come back to with Hammer to give a little bit more impetus if need be. It would obviously not help him because we know all the items are available, but also mirror has been obtained. Gem is now running up here back to the Kakariko portal. I guess he's going to go do a couple of checks with that mirror, probably Graveyard Ledge on his way to Death Mountain.
Yeah, may do the front part of Smith Chain as well while he's in the area. I don't think he's done that yet.
He has not, and looks like you made the right call, because he's definitely running down that direction. Now this, of course, is going to be a lot faster for Gem having the boots and the mirror than it was for Rambler, who had to do it all via save and quit, which is not what you hope for.
Rambler making Thieves look easy so far. 6 hearts green mail. The stuff in here hits hard. That's basically 3 hits from anything and you're dead.
Yeah, pretty much. And get the health here, which is valuable. Rambler's going to find the key in this chest, know those boots are in logic without the hammer, and move on to go fight blind. Same as Gem, just hoping for the item to be there to not waste time later. Gem now going down the Hype Cave, which he had not done yet, actually. Oh wait, no, I'm dumb. He was going to turn in Purple Chest.
Yeah, Rambler slips a little bit off script, and unfortunately, Blind gets very dangerous once it's a free fight. But leaves out for now, going to go get the mirror and probably continue with the same checks Gem does. Since he started the boss fight, won't have to do the back half of the dungeon because the maiden will still be there, so can just run back in later once that fight's a little safer.
Yeah, definitely a wise idea. You don't want to get stuck facing off against Blind over and over again in a much harder fight. So Hype Cave down, Gem gonna come over here and grab his fire rod because, well, he's here, he knows where it's at, why not?
Yeah, you're definitely going to need that. Skullwoods and Turtle Rock are both crystals. Won't need, you've got the lamp for other fire sources, but it's still nice to have.
Yeah, it also marks far and away their best weapon available so far. They do not have a whole lot going for them, honestly, on that front.
I think Gem's routing back in that ice rod cave that he took a death, unfortunately, on earlier.
It seems that way. I like it. He was in the general area. There's not going to be a better time to check this. And you don't want it just hanging in the back of your head the entire race.
Okay, so Rambler is going to see that fire rod. He did not already know about it, but doing flipper checks anyway.
Gem, meanwhile, sets up a Boots water walk coming out of Ice Rod Cave, which is going to speed things up a little bit. It's not nearly as effective as when you don't have flippers, because as soon as he touches any shallow water, well, he just mirrored back anyway, so yeah, as soon as he touched any shallow water, he was going to lose his water walk anyway, but it saved him a bit of time on the path there. Now gets to mirror over to check Hobo a little bit quicker than the swimming path up there.
Yeah, that was a nice little piece of routing.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Gem plays a lot of entrance, so he's a lot more familiar with a lot of the world than, most people who stick to just item randomizer, because entrance kind of forces you to be familiar with every random path you might be forced to take in a way that item rando doesn't as much.
Get the cape out of the waterfall cave. That unlocks one more check, as well as putting, actually, Aga into logic.
We did find a shovel left on the pyramid. One of the workers who was there, left it laying on the pyramid, couldn't get back to it.
But there's a bottle from Zora. So much for those dreams.
Yep, Aghanim has finally been killed. Not actually killed, just, he's never gonna appear. Gem routing right up here to Catfish. This is a lot of overworld focus here. He's gonna get this though, and then be able to mirror over and do the waterfall and Zora that Rambler just did.
Yeah, the getting catfish out of the way is nice because it is such a miserable check to do if it's isolated. But it just has a big 20 this time.
And Rambler going right back into Thieves Town. He's going to go try to get some revenge on Blind.
Given that he has half magic in the cape, I'm willing to bet on his chances.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he didn't come out on top of this one. Barring forgetting he has the cape, it's a foregone conclusion. Although, I'm not gonna lie. What good is the cape against Blind? Oh no, you're invisible. How am I gonna hit you? I could see you so well before.
I mean, maybe it protects from echolocation. I don't know, it protects from spikes and stuff too. I'm not sure how it protects from a bumper by being invisible either.
That's a fair point. Okay, so Jem gonna go follow up on that shovel. Rambler realizes, hey, Blind didn't have anything, and he's gonna be trying to figure out where to go next. It looks like he's gonna head up to Bumper Cave, see if that cape pays off. And the hammer was in the dig spot. That is awful.
The shovel was on Pyramid Ledge, right?
Yep, so you had to get the boots from Thieves Town to go get the flippers out of... Or no, yeah, to go get the flippers out of King's Tomb, to go get the shovel off the pyramid ledge, to go get the hammer out of the dig spot. That is a string of things that I am not a fan of.
Well, the bottle was very definitely required, so they're going to be happy they paid Zora that money because it's a lot better than doing Aga 1.
Just a little bit. That Canis and Maria makes they're kind of at the point where they could dive into T-Rock if they wanted to, if it requires bombos.
Yeah, Jim's still not gone up the mountain and is going to have a lot of access to it at this point. I believe everything except for the items in Hookshot Cave, logically. 3 of the items there.
Yeah, but he's going to go ahead and get the hammer pegs out of the way while he's here. He really has no other cause to come back to this area until he just wants to clear Skull Woods, and you're going the opposite direction when you're ready for that, so... He finds a funky-looking level 2 shield and moves on with his life.
Yeah, the fight that's the most helpful with is a blind that goes badly, so they've already killed blind.
And positive for Rambler, he does appear to be on his way to the pyramid. He'll get that shovel. I'm curious if he'll end up dipping Pod while he's over here, not knowing that that shovel is going to give him his hammer.
Yeah, it could be very brief if it's bow locked.
He says, oh boy, a shovel. Meanwhile, on Gem's side, we are getting his front of Skull Woods checks. We saw all this from Rambler as soon as he got into the Dark World. We'll be seeing Gem go on, obviously, much farther. He is going to be going all the way to Matula, who is a crystal boss, and he wants to kill him. Well, kill her, actually.
Rambler about to grab his fire rod.
If he has 100% orphan catfish, we know that's fine, but it's another one of those things that might just eat on him a little bit as he moves through the run. He went to Link's house. He was going to go do Shovel first, but he decided to go do Skullwoods first. I believe... Well, actually, he might not even be doing Skullwoods. He might be just going to Dark World so he can do Graveyard Ledge while checking Shovel. Not Graveyard Ledge, K45.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that. You might do Skullwoods as well on the way. I already saw the front of it, but I think there was only one item in the front.
That is correct. And also for a follow-up to a comment in chat as we move a little bit farther into this, this is game 1 between these two. So this is a 7-7 open defeat Ganon seed. They are doing a double header. Once this race is over, they will move into race 2, at which point whoever loses will get to make their decision of what change to make.
I'm out of magic. Gonna have to be careful here. Sticking with the fighter sword does get it. It's kind of a precarious position with the moth.
Yeah, not an ideal amount of health to have left at any point in Mothula. And Moth drops the big key, and I believe that leaves us with a... No, we found 2 small keys, so this chest under the bridge does not have to be one. Where did we find... No, we found all 3 small keys. Sorry, it's, I was a little bit more tired coming to this than I expected. My brain isn't all here.
And it looks like the big chest is going to have that last item.
Yep, and there's several things that could be that are helpful, but at this point it's looking very likely that going up Death Mountain is going to be kind of a key thing to keep moving forward on this seed. We still need to find the bow. We still need to find the ice rod. We may need 1 to 2 medallions. We don't know for sure yet. We will need a flute, and we may need a hook shot, depending on ability to hover, as well as just if swamp matters.
Yeah, I mean, I believe Gem is pretty well known for being able to hover, and as I mentioned, we saw practicing the Molder and bounce as well. I do not know if Rambler knows either of those tricks.
Also, shout out to that blue mail locked behind Mothula that Rambler probably wishes he had during the Mothula fight, because it would have been a lot more secure. Ooh, and Rambler is making the play on the fake powder, it looks like. He's going to have to waste a lot of magic with that lamp to do it, but... Lamp or fire rod. But he's now realizing, wait a second, I've still got full magic. Let me just press Y a lot of times, over and over.
Punished for half magic.
Let's see, will Gem's decision to not hard reset matter? Nope.
It looks like Rambler might be the first one. Well, they're both might be heading up the mountain, actually, because Gem is also going that way. Does the bumper ledge check along the way.
Yep, nice little combo of the routing there to be able to get those done at the same time. And he's now basically entirely done with the Village of Outcasts area for the entire remainder of the seed.
Yeah, if he gets powder, he'll probably route in Magic Pad at some point, if not in go mode yet. But other than that, and that's not a terribly long check. That's not Village of Outcasts either. It's but still Kakariko area.
The old man not being helpful, but he gave a pretty good tip. $300 is more than you can ask of most people when you walk them through a cave for a couple minutes. And nothing to do in a very blue spectacle rock cave. 5 rupees inside and 3 bombs up top. So onward to Hera we go. This is going to be a very thorough clear of Death Mountain for both of these two. Hopefully getting, the hook shot on the way so you can get all the hook shot cave taken out no matter what, but you're at least going to be checking a lot of locations.
Yeah, I think those are the only ones other than inside of Turtle Rock, potentially, depending on our medallion requirement, that are not going to be available.
And you won't be seeing any Herapod today to try to save a little bit of time because, well, no hookshot. You can't do it without the hookshot. Gem, what terrible thing went wrong there?
Very devoted to not pulling out the hammer today for some reason. Although I'm betting we see it at the top of this tower.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the menu time to use the hammer against Moldorm versus Fighter Sword. Okay, and we got an item in the basement. That's going to be an opportunity for these two to maybe get a leg up on one another, depending on whether they skip and or go into the basement.
Yeah, we're still missing a decent amount of stuff, so it's a pretty fair-sized risk at this point.
Three hits on Moldorm's tail with the hammer, gets down. Rambler, unfortunately, missing the bomb jump over on the other side, falling down. The heart container on Moldorm, a crystal retrieved. And we'll see what Gem does about that basement.
It looks like he's going to play it safe. It's a long wait down here, but it is really bad if it is an item and you leave.
Yeah, I can vouch for that from some personal experience on that front.
I'm not totally sure what happened to that first fire rod shot from Jim. It looked like it hit the switch.
I believe it just barely caught on the pot. Rambler also gets Moldorm down and will be making the basement or no decision himself here momentarily. Two torches lit, 2 more torches lit, magic or that retrieved if I can speak. And that's an important one. That's a bow.
Yeah, it's possible there's another available, but it's also possible that it's in GT or something, and this is totally required. It does look like both our runners are making the same choice, so Rambler's going to get his bow after a coffee break. But
Yeah, I'm always glad when one runner makes a play on the Hera basement and gets something good that the other turns around and does it too. Because it's always a little bit disappointing when you just watch someone walk away like, no! Hey, that is ether required for Turtle Rock, so we are going to need at least one more medallion to get through this seed.
Yeah, and that one's near ice rod levels on where it could be, in that it could be anywhere other than inside of TR or GT, of course.
Rambler also getting his bow. Gem gonna go check Paradox Cave and Spiral Cave out here. He's looking for the hookshot because whether you can ever or not do an hookshot cave with the hookshot is a lot more speedy and consistent. I like Rambler's move there. That dead rock ended up in a place where it was going to block him from getting the T-Rock like he wanted to. So he said, you know what? I got other things I can do. You stay there. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. I'm going to go over here.
Yeah, Spiral Cave continuing its trend of only having something if you don't have boots.
Another heart piece and $20. The start of Paradox Cave, and not very exciting.
No, so far that bow is by far the highlight of Light Death Mountain.
$70 on the right side, 2 chests. We got 3 to go. Another 20. That's $90 and a piece of heart. And $90 and 2 pieces of heart. Wow.
Well, let's see if the dark side of the mountain has a little more, because that was not impressive.
Thing is, we only got one more item in logic in the Dark Mountain. I regret my comment earlier about how, oh yeah, Death Mountain's probably got like all the progression, because no, it doesn't. Unless this is something, though, after this is pretty straightforward. You're going to go to Pod and Eastern Palace. It's a lot of items you can check pretty quickly. And I guess you can stop at Spike Cave too, since you now have everything possibly required for it.
Yeah, they already had Cape and Half Magic in it. That'd bring it into logic easily, but the Cape and Burn is easier.
Gem giving the hover a shot. And as I said before, you want the hook shot for this because no matter how much you have hovered, no matter how good you are at it, there is no reliable chance that you're going to have it that day. And Gem is having a little bit of trouble here, barely getting out over the gap before falling down.
Yeah, no, those kind of newer to Randomizer, the boots actually do put that bottom chest in logic because you can bonk to it. It can contain the hookshot itself.
Okay, and Gem, a smarter man than I, decides this isn't working, I'm leaving, instead of just fighting trying to hover that gap for the next, 5 minutes. We are getting our Spike Cave check. Going to use the Kana Burna that he got in Hookshot Cave, mostly because it uses a little bit less magic than the Cape, so you have less to refill later.
Hey, that's not a terrible reward, Master Sword. We needed one of those at some point.
Yeah, I've definitely seen worse. So, I'm guessing they're both going to go to Eastern and Pod. The only other option they really have on the table is to go dive into Ice Palace, which could very quickly be hookshot locked.
Yeah, though it looks like we might be seeing that.
Gem, you madman. Yeah, he appears to be going straight into ice. So we'll be seeing what's in here.
Yeah, I mean, Pod is a pendant. Eastern is a crystal and totally required. Ice plus Eastern are 5/6, right? So that unlocks Pyramid Fairy if we do both of those.
Yeah, which is probably related to why he's going in here first, but Definitely a big time sink to go through Ice Palace looking for items, and especially when you've got a crystal you can full clear, a lot of people are gonna take the other choice.
A lot of people really don't like Ice Palace, in fairness. Especially if you don't have the hook shot, because the hook shot just makes it a little easier. Boots at least help with it. Doing it without hook shot or boots makes the ice sections kind of horrible.
True, and that first chest there is a compass, so the next chest, the Freezor chest, will decide whether the right side of Ice Palace is hookshot locked or not. Meanwhile, Rambler going for the volume play over the, less likely play. He's going to head over to Pod and Eastern. He'll probably mirror at the door, do Eastern first, and then come back to Pod if I had to guess, just because always prioritize crystals.
Yeah, it's possible that, like, if you get flute and hookshot, you just, in Eastern somehow, you just don't do Pod and go do other crystals instead.
That is exactly what Rambler's going to do. Gem did a lot of pause buffering to get that Ice Palace bomb jump right, but he nails it and will be going to the back here. Now, of course, the game doesn't expect you to do that bomb jump. You're allowed to, race rules, but the game doesn't think you're going to do it. Okay, and he's actually going to skip the Freezor chest. Now, we've got enough stuff we're still looking for that I don't really dislike this. It's a little bit cleaner routing. But it does, if they were a little bit closer, you would want to do Freezor first just to know if your hookshot could even be here.
Doesn't have to pause for the somewhat trickier bomb jump in the hookshot room.
Oh, that bomb jump is actually far simpler. All you want to do, if you know how to do the spin setup for a bomb jump, all you want to do is press up against that block, do the spin to get on the lowest pixel facing left, and then plant your bomb straight in front of you, and you get knocked over. It's as long as you know how to do the spin thing, it is an extremely simple bomb jump.
I may have just been showing where my practice time has gone on bomb jumps. I can do the other one. I have a hard time with that one.
To be fair, the common thing for a long time that people talked about is a much more difficult setup. I think even to this day, there's still some people who don't even know that you can do the spin thing that makes it a lot easier. Also, Eastern is coming up empty thus far for Rambler. He's probably not super stoked about that.
Yeah, I mean, he probably doesn't mind it. It's not like go moding Eastern's that huge a difference, and he probably suspects his opponent's done the same thing, even though Jim, in fact, has not.
Very true, and ice continuing to be empty. We got a piece of heart from the Freezor chest. Then go check Ice Tea, and then go fight Cold Stare. And so pot it is, right? Am I forgetting anything here?
I can't think of anything that's got more than like one-off locations, and even there I'm coming up empty. Could be Pyramid Fairy still, even with Eastern and Ice being empty themselves, they could actually be, needed together.
Very true, definitely an option. Also, right as I was saying that, I'm reminded that Swamp could be an option. They do have access to the left side and the first couple chests in there.
Some flavor of vanilla hookshot would be a thing the seed could do. it has from beginning to end been pretty stingy with items throughout. Like it's just been enough to go a little further.
And Gem with a beautiful Master Sword Cold Stare kill. It is not easy to kill Cold Stare that quick with the Master Sword. He did, of course, have the Fire Rod to help him out, but, you know, even with half magic, that was a very good kill. Rambler, meanwhile, had a little bit of trouble on that. Our most quick kill missed the last one a little bit. So he gets a little bit slower kill and still moves on just fine. Gonna head through his warp back to pod.
Yeah, a lot of vanilla-ish boss drops today. I think that's the third full heart container we've seen on a boss, and we've only seen 4 bosses.
The
5
game
bosses.
likes its consistency today. Okay, and pod was at least not immediately bow locked, so if there is progression here, they could have had it, 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, unless it's on the right side. I mean, that's not progression, but it's certainly nice.
Yeah, you're never going to say no to a tempered sword. Okay, and that is a bow lock. So the back of pod is bow locked, but you got that tempered sword and heart container on the house. So it does turn out to have paid off that these two both put off the pod check until getting the bow. Obviously, there are a couple ways past the mimic room that are allowable in this particular racing rule set, but having the bow means you're doing what you're supposed to.
Yeah, they haven't had a bottle that long, and they'd have to actually get a potion into it for that way, and the mimic clip is slow, even at best, so definitely good to come here with the bow.
Now, Rambler walking out here, a little bit unfortunately, he is going to go check the vanilla big key chest. Now, the front of pod has to have 4 keys. So, since he already got the tempered sword and the heart container in the first 6 chests, this is guaranteed to be a small key. So, this is pretty much just a flat time loss if Gem pays attention to his key logic while going through here. The way though he is done with his vanilla big key chest, going to the back. There are going to be 2 more keys back here alongside some items, maybe a map and compass, a big key for sure.
Yeah, he's probably rooting to see the remaining 3 items back here rather than having to do Helmasaur for the last one. It's not even the green pendant, so better to avoid that whole trip to the boss. There's our entry into Turtle Rock.
Yep, that's pretty important. Now again, the harmless hellway down here is going to be a guaranteed key logic wise as well. Rambler does skip that, head over to the dark maze, the room that ruins the randomizer's ability to create a vanilla seed ever. Find a map in the first chest. Having Lamp go through here makes it nice and easy. 3 bombs in the second can check the big chest. A mirror, if it is the compass, he may go fight Helmasaur. If it is not, then he has all the items. Very good. Just a quick response on the comment in chat here. You cannot softlock in vanilla because of the item layout, but the way the randomizer works, it cannot both account for the hammer being locked, hammer or bow being locked behind the dark maze to put a key in the dark maze like vanilla has.
Yeah, no, I believe this is going to be ice from Rambler. I think this Gem is not doing pod and is heading towards that big red bomb.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He's gonna be able to do the big bomb and then just walk back over to pod. If it doesn't pay out, his worst case scenario is if it gives him like the flute, because that'll take him to Mire. It'll take him away from his progression in pod.
Yeah, the flute potentially unlocks Mire and definitely gets the Mire area and does unlock Desert. So.
And Gem over here planning to do a bomb dupe. He gets it, and so he was able to dash a little bit and still maintain the bomb by having it just conveniently respawn behind him when it blew up. Big 20 and a piece of heart. As mentioned, probably better for Gem that he didn't find progression there.
Yeah, Rambler will likely do those checks as well at some point after ice.
Yeah, after ice, I'm guessing he'll probably do the big bomb before considering heading back up Dark Death Mountain to T-Rock. Gem, once he gets the goods out of pod, I would guess is going to go to T-Rock unless he wants to gamble Ice Rod in Swamp before doing that.
Yeah, there's a lot of double dip TR required possibilities available with that Ice Rod.
Rambler setting up for the Ice Palace bomb jump. I'm not familiar with his sprite, so I couldn't tell if he was going to get it, but he did. He nailed it. Going to be moving right along. I like this question in chat, so I will respond. There is one known soft lock in the entire game, specific to the Key Sanity mode, in a very, very particular situation. We have not had Key Sanity in the tournament for quite some time, and most of the tournament runners know how to avoid that soft lock entirely. So it has not come up in any, major quote-unquote races in a long time, but is still present in the randomizer, to my knowledge. Now the fun little game of whack-a-bari with the hook shot until eventually you miss.
Jim actually runs out of arrows and has the sword down the last of the mimics, but killed the red mimic first, so...
And we can be pretty sure Rambler is not going to do Helmasaur. And by pretty sure, I mean 100% sure, because frankly, he'll know it doesn't have an item. Nice use of a cane kick to get that switch flipped without having to walk all the way over there. Now can head straight to the back. But yes, Gem is going to be through pod a little bit earlier than Rambler is going to be through ice, maintaining the little bit of a lead that he's got in terms of clearance on Rambler.
Yeah, Rambler's also got to make it back over to Skullwoods to kill Mothula. No, Tempered Sword Mothula is a lot faster than Fighter Sword Mothula was, but still, Jim's done with it, and Rambler isn't.
Yeah, and he does need to be a little bit careful. He is down to 4 hearts at the moment, which is not really ideal for going up against everyone's friend Cold Stare.
It's also high on the list of worst boss runbacks in the game because you basically just have to do all of Go-No-Dice spells again. I'm gonna grab a fairy. It looks like you're still doing that, or might be heading to Ice Tea.
Yeah, he's still got Ice Tea left, which will be a hard piece. I don't know if he has 3 pieces where this would just be a full health refill, but that'd be fantastic for him. And meanwhile, Jim with the hookshot heading directly back up Death Mountain. I'm gonna go do the rest of Hookshot Cave. Oh my god, that is awesome. It was actually a full heart.
Hey, there you go. Back up to 13. That's normally you're not all that excited to see a heart piece. Rambler might be pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, they definitely have their moments. And yeah, Jem is heading right back up. He's going to do the last 3 chests in Hookshot Cave. And then I can't imagine him not diving T-Rock while he's up here.
Yeah, if one of those 3 chests has the ice rod, it makes it a total no-brainer, but just there are so many possibilities where you end up having to double dip TR if the ice rod isn't actually just in there, that it's hard not to just go in.
Yeah, and practically you need that ice rod. Other than that, you just need Flute and maybe Quake. Not necessarily likely Quake, because, you know, you have a 66% chance that you have the medallion for Meyer, but you're looking for maybe 1 to 2 other items, and those items could block the ice rod, so...
Yeah, and it's not even like it's higher than 66. I'm not sure exactly how high, or just because the medallions you see are more likely to be the ones that are required, since Quake could still be in Turtle Rock, or not in Turtle Rock, Ganon's Tower.
He's got nothing so far. Hey, a shield! Hooray! So when Rambler goes into Hookshot Cave, he'll get the Riot Shield. That's pretty laggy. Oh Lord, he's gonna do Big Bomb. For a moment there, I was concerned that Rambler was diving Swamp.
I mean, it's not impossible. It would be a little ambitious, but it's not impossible if he feels like he needs to take a chance.
Yeah, which is always possible. You know, Gem is a very well-known name in the community. Sometimes you do feel like maybe you need to cut out your normal play a little bit and do something wacky to try to get an edge. So far, Rambler has been playing a pretty straightforward game, so I don't believe he is on that let me gamble because I want to, you know, get that leg up on Gem. He seems to be just playing his game, but you always might change that.
Yeah, the reason I think he probably won't, among others, is like he didn't skip the basement of Hera, which was the right decision. There was a bow down there, but that's the kind of play you would make if you were planning on taking gambles to try and get ahead.
Absolutely. And you could argue that T-Rock without the Ice Rod is a gamble as well, but if you're making that argument, then literally every choice you make in Rando is a gamble.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a gamble. I think that's just the most high payoff play. Like it's got about the same number of items as Swamp. When you add Mimic Cave into the mix, you're only not going to be able to get the item that's on Trinex if Trinex has a normal item.
Also, shout out to the free blue potion from the Pyramid Fairy that Rambler picked up. It's not a bad idea to check those when you have an empty bottle and you're there, just because, hey, if they give you a good potion or a fairy, you got that little bit of safety in case something goes out of hand.
Rambler going to go ahead and do his Skullwoods clear. Can save a little bit of time if he chooses not to spend the time to track down the remaining item, but I expect he will actually do that big chest. There's our book, so that has options to lead to something that we need.
Yeah, and with that book, I regret to inform everyone that the pedestal is now a logically accessible location. So that's now on the radar, and every item that could be required that remains could be on there. It is that rare time in a race where, you can actually mention the pedestal and not just be talking about it super in advance. It's actually in logic and potentially relevant.
That's fair. I feel like the only time it's worth mentioning super early is if you do happen to get the rare all pendant light world.
One day we're going to see the dream of Moon Pearl on pedestal, and I cannot wait for that day.
Yeah, there was a all pendant light world earlier in the tournament, and I was rooting very hard for that.
It's definitely the dream seed. I wouldn't even be mad about the pedestal seed if I got that on there. Also, T-Rock, very empty thus far. We did, outside of that book, we did find Mimic Cave. Got nothing there. We've gotten a couple items. We got Laser Bridge remaining, as well as this chest right here at the Crystal Roller Room. Which, hey, it's the good boomerang. Yeah.
I used to agree, but the red one can be used for splash deleting, so I've changed my opinion.
That's fair. That's a good reason to like the red boomerang. The only good reason to like the red boomerang, really, but... Rambler gets his Skullwoods crystal. He is now tied with Gem on dungeon clears.
Let's see if Ice Rod is in its randomizer vanilla location on Laser Bridge.
So far, nothing. We got 2 chests left to check. One of them is going to be a small key. Gem getting knocked off while killing the hard hat beetle.
I mean, he had the option to have the mirror shield for this. Just the book for TR.
Yep, so now the questions are, is that book going to be important, and will Rambler avoid getting it if it is not? Gem is going to go up Paradox Cave and then head over to the other side of the mountain, check the Ether Tablet, and then he's got some options, and none of those options are good.
Yeah, this is the main one that lets him keep that portal. So he's rooting real hard for this to be the Ice Rod so he doesn't have to go back through Turtle Rock.
Yeah, he could even end up choosing to go to Desert without checking Bombo's tablet, just for the sake of preserving that portal. It would be a risky move, but...
Meanwhile, it looks like Rambler is going to make the same play to Turtle Rock. Ether just has 300 rupees. Not what you need at this point in the seed.
Not at all. Also, I forgot that without the flute, trying to preserve your portal outside of Death Mountain is absurd. So he saves and quits, gets rid of that portal, and he's moving right along.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to do it at that point. So really, it was just hope it's on Ether.
Now, Rambler prepares to go do his trip through T-Rock, which means that Gem is approximately 1 journey through T-Rock ahead of Rambler at this point. I expect the order of operations here to be Bombos Tablet, then Swamp. If both of those don't pay off, then Desert. If that doesn't pay off, he'll probably go back to Pod and kill Helmasaur.
I mean, at that point, you're just going for the ped pull.
Yeah, pretty much. Because once Swamp and Desert are cleared, he's actually doing Desert first. Once those two are clear, we don't have much, if anything, left. But first things first, we got Desert. Desert is 2 items. They can full clear it. They've got everything they need to ensure they can get every item. And yeah, they just need to figure out how long it's going to take to get there.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in this being the first play. Swamp is 7 items today with the green pendant.
So I know Gem, at least in the past, has paid attention to spheres. Now, from a sphere standpoint, Swamp opened up quite a while ago, but Desert just opened up with that stuff in T-Rock. So if I had to guess, he's probably making this play because he's thinking the book is the latest logical item I've gotten, so I want to follow that.
And that's totally legitimate. It's definitely a further level of thinking than I'm able to put into it myself, so I'm impressed with it. And it may very well pay off for him here, as I wouldn't be surprised to see Rambler hit up Swamp when heading out.
And the first item of Desert is a big 20, so he's going to be going to kill Lambo to get the second item. The other factor is, of course, just avoiding Swamp, but... Oh no, Rambler. Oh, he got it.
Yeah, if he'd switched to the cape there, I'm pretty sure the cooldown would have killed him.
100% would have, yeah. Unfortunately, he did do Magic Bat by a fake powder, but unless he wants to drain all of his magic out in the middle of TR, he can't do that. So he's got to at least survive until he gets to the exit coming up here soon to not have any issues. He's just going to quaff that blue potion to be safe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There is a full magic available after the lava chest if you take the pipe back, but it's still super annoying to set that up and kind of risky because there's a decent chance you take a hit and end up dead.
Yeah, that last room, the anti-fairies aren't going to get you, but the floating skeleton head would have been a problem. Gem with a nice clean 0 cycle Lambo for item number 2. It's a piece of heart. Desert was empty. Now, the downside of Gem's routing here is if he decides he wants to go to the swamp, he now has to go back to the portal south of Link's house, go back to the Dark World through that, walk down the swamp, and then go from there. Had he not had his portal up on the Bombos tablet, if he had done Swamp first, or if he had done Swamp first, he could have saved a trip over there.
I actually had forgotten about Agina. I don't even remember at this point if Rambler checked it or not.
Yeah, he had checked it a while ago. When he turned in Purple Chest, he walked over to check it.
Ah, that's right.
Okay, so here comes Swamp Palace. It could very well have one of the items we need at the very least. It could have both the items we need. It could have none of the items we need. It's really all on the table, and there's not much else, so we know it's going to lead us where we need to go one way or the other.
Yeah, basically it either has to there has to be something in here or on Green Pendant or Ped.
Yeah, I'm trying to mentally run through locations. I do believe at this point we have checked basically everything between the two of these two. I can't think of any location we haven't seen that is logically available. So here we go. What are you betting on? Are we going to find the flute in here? Are we going to find the ice rod? Are we going to find both? We're going to find neither and have to go for Green Pendant or Ped.
I think we're going to end up with the flute, and then the ice rod's going to be somewhere that gets accessed via flute. I think Ped and Green Pendant will end up being nothing.
You're a kind-hearted soul. I know virtually everyone in chat is probably sitting there hoping for, nothing in here, and then the flute on the Green Pendant, and then, ice rod on pedestal.
I mean, you asked me what I thought it would be, not what I was hoping for.
That's fair. That's fair. And yeah, I agree it's more likely we're going to find progression here. Like you said, there are 7 items here. We've seen one, it's a heart container. But there are 6 items tied to this dungeon right now. Odds are in its favor.
And we're seeing Rambler make the exact same ether tablet play for the reason that it's a very good play to make.
Yeah, of course, unfortunately for him, he has been kind of just one step behind Rambler for a good chunk of the seed now. He just hasn't really, with how stingy the seed has been, he hasn't really had a chance to do stuff differently and kind of get that time back.
Yeah, if Ped is not involved and he goes straight to swamp, he can get some time back from desert not really having anything directly.
Okay, I like it. He's taking the Death Warp to the Dead Rock, which will preserve his portal. Okay, actually, I think he was just taking the Death Warp because of the... Wait, where are you going, Rambler? Oh, desert. He's going desert.
Yeah, he's trying to preserve portal, which is totally fair again. But
we are through most of Swamp. Haven't done left side yet, but we're coming up on Argus. We're getting light on locations in here. I'll be honest, I haven't 100% kept up. I missed the flooded chest room, so I don't know how many items are left in here until Gem pauses.
I love watching the runners that are actually good at this game do Argus. It seems like the fight where it's like the hugest difference you can make.
Yeah, the dash poke strats are definitely very interesting. And looks like, from what I heard in chat about them finding a map and finding the compass on Argus, 2 items left side swamp. At this point, you can't risk it. You have to go back in.
I mean, that's as many items as we're talking about getting from Ped or Green Pendant, so yeah.
Then we do have that Green Pendant. The convenient thing here is, if it does end up being Pedestal or Green Pendant, you're going to be going for both of those at the same time, and you can drop the Green Pendant off on the way to Pod. So that's, a nice little perk about how this is going to route out for him.
Yeah, that does turn the most evil thing for Green Pendant to be Flute, and then for the Ped to have Ice Rod, but...
Yeah, that's about the worst case scenario they could ask for. Rambler also going to head to the back, kill Landmolus, because, well, it's got an item on it, and you don't have a lot of options left. And he wants to save his portal, and all that combined means going for Lamo is easily his best option. So, left side swap is the stupidly slow location that nobody likes to do. You have to do this little wraparound that Gem just did to pick up the key and then go flip a switch a couple times and then go back where you came from when you were getting the key to go swim over here. And then you got to go up some stairs and then fall down a hole. It's just all around really not a fun time going through here.
Yeah, this section is why a large part of why people talk about this and Ice Palace as the two dungeons you really, really want to go mode.
Heart piece is the second to last item here. Do we have an ice rod or flute?
Oh, that's almost the meaner one. That only unlocks one location.
Yeah, so man, if you're Gem, what do? It looks like he's going to go the straightforward route of going to turn in the green pendant first. But you're over here anyway. Do you kill Helmasaur and just blind pull the pet at this point before betting on the item being on Trinex?
I mean, right now, before you get there, you're really hoping that the old guy has the flute.
True. But failing that, you got this very, very awful decision to make. Gem has clearly made his by where he put that mirror portal.
Yeah, Jim is not intending to step foot in the pod on this trip.
It's not green pendant. Will it be Trinex with the flute or the pedestal with the flute? I'm pretty sure those are only two options.
I can't think of anywhere else.
So this is Rambler's chance. If he goes through Swamp and he goes straight to Pod, I mean, Gem's still going to be ahead, but won't be anywhere nearly as far ahead as if he goes to T-Rock first, like Gem is.
Yeah, it basically gains Rambler one full Death Mountain climb.
Of course, when you do go up the mountain eventually for GT, you would then have to clear T-Rock, but you're going to have to do that no matter when you route it in. Yeah, kind of response to another comment in chat. Yeah, Gem's logic is 100% that the TR dive is required regardless, and to go for it is not going to cost you any time except the trip up the mountain. But at the same time, the trip over to Pod is not a whole lot quicker than the trip up the mountain. So, I mean, either way, you're kind of losing that extra time. So you could make a pretty solid argument for either choice there.
Yeah, I think it's actually a reasonable choice. Now, you do have to go actually pull the ped too, so it is slower, I think, to do the ped first. But
True. True.
to answer chat, Ice Rod was in the vanilla big key chest in Swamp.
Yeah, making good progress through T-Rock. When you've got everything cleared out and you got all the doors open and everything, it's not a slow dungeon to go through. You always hope you don't have to go through it twice. And no one has checked the pedestal. The book was in T-Rock in the lava chest. By the time you got that, desert and swamp were open and very good options. You don't have the flute to get to Kakariko quickly to check it. They're just clearing locations, and eventually, if it's not on Try Next, they'll be pushed into the pedestal anyway.
Yeah, now Gemma's probably not feeling super great at the moment because this double dip of Turtle Rock was not required. There were ways that it could have been if the book had led to that ice rod, but it was not locked behind that book.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like you kind of expect your opponent to also have dove T-Rock before doing the swamp, but you always have that. Anytime you're playing Rando, you're thinking, my opponent got routed this. Why aren't they done yet? Gem through phase 1 of Try Next. Going to try to go for a double spin and a slash here for phase 2 to get it done quickly. Failing that, gonna have to get 5 total Tempered Sword swings worth of damage done one way or another.
Looks good. Very solidly done.
Okay, is it the flute or is it the pedestal? It's the flute. So, pedestal's not quite dead yet. Meyer could require Quake, but it's looking like there's not going to be the ped pull. The 50-50 Gem made the right call.
I actually had put the Meyer could be Quake out of my mind.
How rude would that be? Like, yes, I got the flute. Oh, come on. And Rambler has routed Swamp the same way Gem did. Go to the back first, looking for something, and he will have to go back in for that Ice Rod. Whether he does it right now or later, he'll do it now, though, because he doesn't have enough time left to do, or enough checks left to do anything else, really. While Gem plays his flute, wakes up a bird. Rambler is going through his Argus fight, not going for the fancy poke strats, but Gem didn't get a 0 cycle in Argus, which means that Rambler's 1 cycle was no slower than his. Did miss a little bit on that second phase, but it gets the fight done. It gets his green pendant, and we're making a very important choice here momentarily. Bombos on Meyer. We are in go mode. Oh no, Rambler left Swamp.
Well, we might see what's on PED before the credits roll, but it's not going to be anything we need today.
Yeah, unfortunately for Rambler, his this would have been his main hope of gaining up a sizable chunk of time on Gem, but it's not going to work out for him. Gem is going to be going through Meyer very quickly here before heading up to GT.
Well, you say very quickly, but I think that's up to Meyer, and apparently it's very quick today.
Yep, that was about as quick as you could hope for. Oh, and he gets the mirror bonk as well. Gem did set up some spooky action, so we'll be seeing the altitude variable of the fire rods and Scylla that was manipulated. Well, maybe not.
He didn't flip the switch. You don't have to see it in that first stream.
Yeah, he's going to be using that manipulated altitude variable to hit that switch in the room above him because it's on the same super tile. The game knows it's there. And then he's going to shoot this torch, which will hit the switch up there, and boom, you're right through here in no time at all. Spooky action is like the best thing to come from all the Ancilla related stuff that we have found in the past year. It has been a crazy year for Link to the Past speedrunning when it comes to glitch discovery.
I'm a big fan of the splash deletion ones, but yeah, they're definitely nice, and they get increasingly strange.
I'm also a fan of the new low percent that was able to be created because of them, but that's a story for, vanilla game and not random.
Well, that is Gem's 7th crystal. Going to be heading up towards Turtle Rock. There are a great many numbers in chat already. You have one you like to put out there into the world, Mythos Man?
I got an 8 in my name. I'll just say 8.
I thought the seed was being rude because, well, the entire seed, but then it decided to give Godmire, so I think it's just decided to let up now. I'm going to go with 3.
Seems viable. A little torch key. Or I guess
the climb. Yeah, usually. Well, it depends on the strats, but yeah, I have torch in mind because of my own routing.
Yeah, that's definitely the quote-unquote common one to see even still. Either way, we'll be getting to GT here momentarily. Rambler is going up against the Helmosaur King. 17 slaps with a hammer to the face. He'll release a spin attack and then probably slice him twice, or just slice him 4 times. And that'll be that. Gem will be opening GT while Rambler goes to, check out what's going on the pedestal. At this point, probably garbage. It could be like red mail or powder. Those would be nice.
Silvers. Could be silvers.
Silvers are nice, yeah.
I mean, none of it's worth the time investment, but, nothing to be done about that. I respect the play, certainly.
Oh yeah, 100% respect the gamble on pedestal in this situation. So 1 and 2 were empty, 3, your guess is coming right up, and we find a small key. It's kind of like a big key. Yeah, this seed has gone through quite a thing. It's been stingy with items throughout. It's been a very slow to hand out any kind of progression. You had that ending wrap up with Ice Rod on left side's Pendant Swamp and the flute on Trinex. It was not a friendly seed from start to finish.
It's silvers.
You got it. You win. Ironically, at the same time that was being pulled, the powder that I suggested was pulled out of GT, so that was some pretty interesting timing. So all things considered, I think especially with this being a back-to-back race, I would imagine Rambler is probably going to do a dot forfeit when Gem finishes, because he's going to see Gem done while he still has a lot of stuff to do. That said, if he did get to Ganon, or if he does go to Ganon, he would be able to kill him a lot simpler because, well, silver arrows that not many people are going to get. Oh lord, he thinks it's the mushroom they didn't turn in since the very beginning.
That would be tremendously rude to do to him. Guessing we see him head back to Swamp at this point, mostly because I'm not sure where else he could go.
Yeah, I can imagine that was kind of a relieving moment for Rambler when he saw that wasn't the Ice Rod or Flute. Like, okay, I didn't mess this up that hard. Also, GT-wise, I have not been counting, but we're at Bob's chest. And hey, it's a big key. That was a good time to segue that.
There's 8 we didn't check, so it's whatever 22 minus 8 is.
So that'll be 14. Now Jem's gonna head upstairs. He pushes some blocks. The gauntlet here is going to be just a few minutes of pure execution. It's all the same every time. You got to deal with different RNG patterns, just like an MG race. But because you have, basically the same equipment when you're here normally, it's all pretty standard.
Yeah, the difference between Master Sword and Tempered is almost at its highest through here, though. A lot of these enemies take multiple Master Sword hits, but go down with one Tempered swing.
True, and in this particular case, you got the Fire Rod and half magic, so you could just use that if you had Master Sword to get through things a little bit quicker, but Tempered Sword, you don't really have to worry about it other than hitting things faster. Of course, at the end of the gauntlet, we have the Aghanim 2 fight, which is, everyone's favorite fight. And you get to kill Moldorm 2, go across a little gap, bounce some energy balls back at him, with his clones. It's an exciting time.
Gem just blazing through this gauntlet.
It gets pretty much, not quite the ditto of his first Landmo kill, because the direction that third Landmo jumped just made it virtually impossible to get the 0 cycle. And here we have the first of everyone's 2 favorite rooms in the game. Second will be coming up momentarily, where you get to, maximize the use of the Cane of Samaria in a way the game never lets you do besides here. With half magic, he will be able to fire out these 4 torches, still have enough magic to do the torches upstairs. But with that bonk, he might choose, I don't know the exact timing he's got available. Yeah, he's going to go grab that magic, not because he necessarily needs it, but because he wasn't entirely sure how long he had, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the thing you really don't want to do there is go through at the same frame as the torches go out, because then all the sprites despawn and you have to start the tower over.
Yeah, and when you're experienced enough, you kind of just know the timing when things go right. But it can be hard to think like, okay, I've bonked and gotten bought by the fire bar. Is that enough time or no? The silvers were on pedestal today. So that's why Rambler has those, Gem does not. Moldorm 2 is dead, a hook shot across the gap. Checks the chest for those silvers, not knowing where they're hiding. And we'll be going up to Aga 2 now. Rambler, meanwhile, has gotten his Ice Rod out of left side swamp, is going back to the Dark World down here. I don't think he has anything left to do, really.
Gem gets a double there. I think that was just a double as well. Those second and third hits look too close to count.
Alright, Rambler never did catfish, so he's gonna go check that. And that was a triple on the second cycle, so 2, 3, 1. No.
That was the fourth cycle. It was 2-2-1-1.
Ah, I can't count apparently.
But still looking good heading into the Ganon fight. Tempered Sword, Silverless, not going to have too much trouble with this, especially with half magic.
Yeah, so for phase 1, he's going to need 12 swings worth of damage. He's going to go for 3 swings at the start here, and then a double spin to get him to 7 right away. And then go for 5 a little bit later. And then phase 2, he'll need another 12 swings worth. Double spins are always good, but when he's in this corner, you just slash away, hook shot at the right time. Then 4 slices for phase 4, and 12 spin attacks at a very specific timing for phase 4.
Yep, and already into phase 3.
Yeah, now the ideal Tempered Sword fight, the 1-in-1 cycle, which just makes Butter Sword completely useless on this fight if you are good enough at it.
Yeah, Butter Sword makes the 1-in-1 a lot easier, but it is no faster than a 1-in-1 from Tempered.
So Gem gets Torch Glitch and starts to spin to win. Now, by using Fire Rod to light these torches at a distance with his sword held out, he's able to get 3 hits per torchlight if he does everything appropriately, which will get him through this fight very quickly. It is the optimal strategy when you have half magic. You really have no reason to not go for the triples.
Yeah, if you've gotten the torch glitch even without half magic, it can be pretty safe to at least get some of them that way. As you can see, finished with well over half a bar there.
And that is going to be a wrap for game 1. Let's see, Gem finished in first place with a time of 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 16 seconds. And yeah, that is a victory in game 1 for him. Rambler will be making a settings change for game 2 as the losing player of game 1.
Yeah, we will not be having an interview with the runners because they're going to be getting ready for the aforementioned game 2, which will be broadcast shortly after this one.
Yep, and spoiler alert for those of you watching, the setting that Rambler has chosen for the next race is Fast Ganon. So if you are interested in the impact that that has on the game, you'll want to stick around because that is the minor setting change that is going to be going on for the next race.
Yeah, meanwhile, as Rambler goes through TR, give both these runners a follow at GM041 and NYRambler on Twitch. The Fast Ganon is probably a defense against the hook shot ending up not in some horrible location and not being required. Like on this seed, Gem being able to hover could have gotten him through without the hook shot that was buried in pod. Ether was also there, but I can definitely see why Rambler made that pick if he knows Gem can hover and he can't.
Yep, and he's going to be going up against Trinex here. He is still playing out the seed, at least for the moment. Going to go for 5 slices per head, alongside a couple shots. The ice head you occasionally need less than 5 hits with, because Fire Rod sometimes double hits, because, reasons. Misses that initial double spin. 3, 4, and 5 hits on Trinex. Rambler's going to see his flute in the last possible place in the world, knowing that Gem is already done, most likely.
Yeah, it remains kind of a rude location for it.
Very, very rude location, especially considering where the ice rod was at. He menus the flute, and it was at this point that NYRambler has forfeit the race, choosing to not play out the Meyer finish and the GT and Ganon. They got game 2 right afterwards. He didn't want to go through all that, just make Gem sit there and wait while he finished up the seed. So goes ahead and does a forfeit so that they can move on to game 2.
Yeah, definitely. There's never any shame in that, but especially when you're about to head into the back half of a doubleheader, totally reasonable to just continue on with it.
So with all that said, as we mentioned, there will be no interviews. This is going back to back. The race will be starting on Restream at about let's see, it's currently 12:58 p.m. EST, so it would be 1:13 EST will be race start time for game 2. So if you want to step away, get a drink, go to the bathroom, anything like that, now's your time.
Yeah, I know I'll be sticking around to watch this next one. Probably will be rooting for Rambler because I enjoy watching game 3s. But I like the settings change. Hopefully the seed is a little politer. It'd be kind of neat to see a contradiction and get it like a jet seed for game 2 after the kind of stingy game 1.
Very much so. And I do want to thank you for co-commentating with me. It was a heck of a seed, and it was a good time working with you.
Yeah, you as well. Ventus Man. Also would like to give a shout out to our tracker band man 25 for pushing the buttons and helping us keep everything straight here.
I'm not used to the downtime at the end here with no interviews going on. It's been a while since I've had one of those.
Yeah, I think this one we talked a lot about it because it did kind of string them along. I am glad this is not one I had myself because I probably would.
Yeah, I'm also glad that I did not have this one for myself. I'm gonna be going to sleep personally, but I'm gonna be hoping these two get a nice friendly seat for game 2. Hopefully one that opens up a lot more. Gem is a very strong execution player, and Rambler had no chance to make better decisions than Gem in the seed, really. There was no point when it was just open with a bunch of options. It was always kind of just go to the next spot, do everything on the way there. So a little bit more open seed will play well to Rambler and push toward that potential game 3.
Yeah, I think like the main opportunity was doing Swamp before TR, but that would have been a counterintuitive play. Like it would have been making that play just so you would be doing something Jim wasn't, rather than making what's kind of like your default play.
Absolutely. So with that, in order to give the speed gaming setup people enough time to get everything set up, ready to go for game 2, I think it's about time for us to wrap up here. So thank you everyone for watching. Please do stay tuned for game 2. It should be a fun one. Hopefully a little bit less awful of a seed, but
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everybody has a good afternoon, whether you're sticking around or not. And Mentos Man, I hope you have a good night.
Thank you, and you enjoy watching game 2. since God asked the convenient timing before we wrapped up totally, it starts in about 10 minutes.
Yep, and a 170 completion rate for Gem, which says a lot about the save.
Fantastic.